I think Doom 2 is one of my favorite movies
Okay.
of all times, and even that would not be able to. I don't think this movie really touches humanity in so many ways.
Is this a slow burn masterpiece or just slow? Let's dive into The Brutalists. A Hungarian architect moves to America, dreams big, meets a powerful but shady benefactor. So, what did you think of The Brutalists? We talked about seeing it in the theater. We waited until it was on demand. It's a 3.5 hour movie about an architect. So,
like, I wasn't too excited about like seeing it in the theater because it sounds absolutely boring, and I feel like I don't know. I was imagining something that's similar to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
For which I fell asleep during. So I just wasn't. I thought it was gonna be like very serious, like about history or something like that.
Yeah, it's fictional, but you ended up liking it though. You sat through the whole 3.5 hours. We're gonna like take a we didn't go to the theater to see it because I didn't know if there was going to be intermission. There is an intermission, and I was like, let's watch this till the intermission, and then we can continue it the next day or whatever. And then you sat and watched the whole thing.
Yeah, it was a really great movie. I want to say it's not boring at all because it focused, because it really triggers a lot of emotions in you.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard this was compared to The Godfather.
Ooh.
Which I can see it because it's a story, well, especially Godfather 2, which is a story about immigration into the United States.
Okay.
And I see it. I definitely see it, especially the first half. And I'll talk about the first half. I think the first half is like almost perfection for me. Like perfection in a way of a movie, of filmmaking, just everything.
Yeah, I can see that.
You didn't think it sounded interesting, but it did pull you in. The story did.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful story, and I don't know, like, I think it really, a lot of it really, like, was contributed by the acting. I think the main actor's performance.
Yeah, we can talk about the performances. So it stars Adrien Brody. He plays Laszlo, the brutalist architect. Have you seen him in anything before?
I don't think so. But he has a face that you know that his life is not gonna be easy.
Yeah, it also stars Guy Pearce. He's the benefactor that basically hires him to build a building. I don't know if you've even seen Guy Pearce in anything because he's not in much anymore. He's kind of like one of those actors who's like great, but he didn't get like the star treatment he probably deserved as an actor.
I've definitely seen his face before. I can't remember anything though.
It also has Felicity Jones as Adrien Brody, Laszlo's wife, and she's primarily missing in the first half, but she's a pretty major character in the second half.
Yeah, and I really liked her character, and I think if there is any way I can imagine Laszlo having a wife, that would be exactly who the wife should be. Like, this makes sense. This makes perfect sense.
Well, it's for him, he's kind of like, he's not well, he's a sensitive guy, but he's also like a drug addict, and he sleeps around a lot on her.
He was single. He was like,
well, he was
alone.
married, but then she was forgiving of it.
And he didn't even know his wife was alive. It was later into the movie that his friend told him that your wife is still alive.
Yeah, because it opens like he gets jerked off before even like the opening title. But he didn't know then, but he still fucked around on her even after she got back and everything.
It's normal. It's just human body, like sexuality or whatever you call it. And he probably didn't even enjoy it that much. You know why?
So the director, Brady Corbet, I thought he did great. It's just like a magnificent looking film. The cinematography, everything. Like even the opening when he's on the boat when he first arrives on, I'm assuming Ellis Island, where it shows like the upside down Statue of Liberty and just everything. Like, and when his friend confronts him, he's like kicking him out. Just like these little choices of like, he's just shrouded in shadow. You don't even see his face.
Oh,
it's like,
heart.
yeah, it's just things like that. It's just like elevated so much. But yeah, the directing was fantastic. So considering that you watched a whole 3.5 hour movie, did you find it slow? Did you find it like, what did you think of the pacing of it?
I didn't find it slow at all. I think it's good pacing, but it's also not like things are happening very fast. It's just at a normal pace, and it keep on going and holding that pace. I didn't feel like there was any pacing.
Well, that's how I felt, is like this felt shorter than most 2-hour movies to me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. For some reason, I think
it's engaging. Like,
yeah.
It's got like perfect pacing to me.
It's kind of just like telling a story of, you know, his half of his life type thing.
Yeah, and it is like kind of like a struggle for him. Like he seems like an artist first, but then like all these things keep getting in the way of, like, it's basically the money that gets in the way, where they have this other contractor and he's trying to like cut corners and stuff, and then there's a whole accident that happens that just like pushes it to the side, and he has a singular vision because
he's an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And capitalism just ruins art, like, and will crash it.
And yeah, he's escaping World War II, like escaping like the Nazis and everything. So the guy shows him his buildings that he made, and he's like, he was getting all emotional about it, about him seeing actual pictures that still exist of his buildings. So
which I sensed a bit bad vibe in the, like, at that moment already. Like, he obviously is an artist and has his own way of like how the piece of art should be coming out of his hand, and then you're having like a business dude like trying to give him money, trying to pretend that he understand him and give him, act like he's a dear friend. And I already know that it's not gonna work out. Like, you guys are not gonna be friends. You're gonna screw him for money or whatever.
Well, we can get into a little bit of spoilers, because there is something that kind of holds me back from like thinking this is just perfection almost. And it is a little spoilery because it happens towards the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. But is there anything that you didn't like?
No, there's nothing I didn't like.
Well, there is a scene that I think, so from before this, everything just seems so natural, so realistic and everything. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a grape scene. I can't say the actual word because I won't get impressions on YouTube.
A grape scene?
Yeah, grape happens. And I felt like that took me out of it a little bit, because it just seemed a little too on the nose and a little too over the top for this movie. Everything that preceded it. And that happens like later in the movie. It's like in the second half of the movie. You didn't have a problem with it, but
no. And I don't find it like odd at all. I think, okay, this is how I perceive this, is, you know, how, you know, his project ended probably halfway through, and later on, like, they reconnected, and it almost make you feel like, oh, maybe this business dude actually really do value Laszlo's talent and really do see him as like, or maybe there is genuine like connection between these two people. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to the grape scene that just tells you that is not true. He does not really respect him as a human.
I think they've already showed that some, especially it gets increasingly worse, but like when he flicks the penny at him and asks him to pick it up and everything. It's subtle things like that. I think this was just like a sledgehammer. It's like, and you know, it doesn't mean he's like, I don't even think he did it in a sexual way. I think it was a power thing, but I think there are other ways to do it that's more subtle than actually.
Yeah, I don't think it's
the act.
it's meant for like anything sexual at all. It's really just an act that tells you like you're nothing and I hold all the power and money, and you know.
Yeah, especially him, what he was saying to him and everything during it. So yeah, that, I don't know, that just kind of like, it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, and then it's like that second half, that's what kind of like tainted it for me. But
okay,
I think you could have done it in a more like subtle way. I think a little bit more subtleness to it, kind of, you know, fit the rest of the film to me.
What can't really hit you harder than?
Well, it does. It's a little over the top, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, just get our final rating and overall thoughts.
Final rating for this movie for me is probably at least a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
It could go higher, I think. I don't know.
What holds it back from getting a 4.5 or a 5-star for you?
That everything will have room for improvement. I actually think this movie is more of a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
So you changed that 4.5? Okay.
Yeah, just like for many factors. For the fact that it is a 3.5 hour long movie, but it didn't feel boring at all. And
did this movie justify its length, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's good length, and it's a full story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it really, I think it goes into many aspects of the main character's life, mm-hmm. and you can really feel engaged, and feel for his struggle.
Yeah.
I really like. I want to say I like almost all of the characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really showed the many faces people hold towards, you know, whatever you consider your friend or your family.
Yeah, yeah.
Even for the rich guy's family, it's a whole, like, what do you say? Like, it's a whole story of itself. Like, every family member has their own personality, and you could tell they're not. There's a lot of depth into their personality development.
I'll go 4.5 too. I would give it a 5 if it just wasn't for that one scene. But I really love this movie. Probably, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with this winning Best Picture, honestly.
Oh, honestly, this really should.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen them all yet.
No,
so.
I know there's not gonna be. I know there's not going to be another movie that I like better than this one.
Emilia Perez, Wicked, Dune 2.
I think Dune 2 is one of my favorite movies of all times. And even that would not be able to, I don't think, this movie really touches humanity in so many ways.
I want to also bring up like the score and sound design. Like the score I thought was magnificent.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, this reminded me, I need to look for the soundtrack on Spotify. Oh, there's some really, is this some really sad music or something? Or just like...
Yeah, it's like very epic. I could see the comparisons with The Godfather for sure, but with the style of filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but you just cannot simply compare a movie today to a movie.
Well, I mean, stylistically, it's similar. It feels like a movie that was made in the 70s to me. Just like the classical filmmaking, really.
Yeah, I understand that, but also like this really is one of the most, I think, almost perfect movie.
That was our thoughts on the Brutalists. Let us know what you thought of the Brutalists down below in the comments. Make sure to hit like. It really helps small channels like this. Make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon if you want to see more movie reviews. We ended up both liking it. So that was 3.5 hours well spent.